Pantheon session. The title I'm quite fond of. Let me quote it accurately. Build, launch, run, how to use Pantheon to improve your development style and deliver value to your clients. So since we have a dozen or so people, we can do a little bit of polling here. Is anyone using Pantheon right now? Okay. Is it kicking the tires? You actually have a client project on there. Something you're getting paid to take care of? Good stuff. All right. Good deal. And are you using the command line Git with that as well? Yeah? Okay, yes, some no. All right, good deal. All right. I will start at the beginning for that very reason. The beginning is me. I am Doug Van. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I will make it home tomorrow night for the homecoming game for Peyton Manning to get home and play from the other locker room this time. So that'll be fun. Go Colts. Fist thrown in the air back there. And at home are my wife and 4 children, who I don't see enough of. This is kind of my season of travel. Just got back from Albany, New York, where I was teaching a class for the state government, 16 people from the DMV. New York's making a big swing. Well, they've been using people for a long time. So that's a lot of what I do is training, consulting, and a lot of development as well. I kind of do it all. But making people make sense and making other things make sense, like Pantheon. I think Pantheon makes great sense, and I think it's pretty obvious what the value is, but I wanted to bring a session to the campus here, and it got accepted, so yay, here we are. So, a little bit about Pantheon. What started off as really a speedy Drupal solution has grown into a lot more and a lot of awesome developer tools. What are developer tools? If you look at all your major shops and your big operations, when they take on a new project, they have a 3-stage development process. Dev, stage, prod, sometimes called dev, test, live. You can throw the QA in there, you can throw a UAT in there. There's lots of letters and acronyms they throw around. But at the beginning of it all, it's 3 stages. The point being, a lot of developers are going to be doing a lot of work, gamers, coders, configurers, etc., all kinds of stuff going on. And then, not to mention, we have the client who at some point has to put in the proper content. Because Develop Generate is awesome for all those funny Latin nodes that we create with Develop Generate. But at some point, you got to have real content so you can actually see what you can theme against it, you can code against it, you can configure against live data. So a 3-stage development process sounds like a pain in the butt, and it should sound like a pain in the butt because it has been for many years, but each shop has their own way of taking care of it. They've standardized on their own tools, internal tools, whatever their team is used to, and they kind of stick to that, and they refine it over the course of time. But the idea of a 3-stage development process, A, the need for it, and B, the use of it, and how to get it, was not something that was typically in the hands of the common developer, the one-man show, the freelancer, the one-girl show, whatever that would be. So Pantheon, again, starting off as kind of a speedy Drupal solution, has formed into a development tool-rich operation, which some of you are using, and hopefully all of you will be by the time I'm done with you. Those of you who wish to follow along, I'm going to go. I have no slides. I'm not going to bore you with slides. You can download slides from somewhere else. I'm not going to have any for you here. I will have a voice that's going out because I've been talking to audiences for like a week, and you're like day 6 now. So my apologies for the voice. Pantheon.com or getpantheon.com, because you got to get it before you got it. And log in and create your own. Create an account from that level. It's free. You can have up to 2 projects running at the same time on this email address. And when you log in, you get your panel that shows you all the projects that you're working on. The beautiful thing is, if you've got you're maybe in Atlanta, you got a guy in Chicago and a girl in New York and a couple of people in the Philippines or India or wherever your team is, you can add them in there, and they can all have access to the project. And not the Drupal site. We can give access to Drupal sites any time. We all got to do that. But access to the Pantheon configuration is what I'm talking about. I'm going to add a site. It's just as simple. And again, on the free account, you get 2 of these, and they're yours for life. They don't get taken away.
Is there a size limitation on this?
There's a handful of limitations on there, and I should go ahead and address that. Pricing. So the one thing you can't do on the free account is point the live domain. So myclientsawesomeoverpaidsite.com. You can't point that to the live environment until you engage in some kind of a plan. Now you can spend 6 months building this thing, or you can spend a couple of years building this thing, and you never have to pay for it. Now there are some limitations. You mentioned size. Here's the free sandbox, and there's the other plans. They recommend the $400 a month one. Why not recommend the bigger one? I don't know. But so you get the version control, SFTP access, Drush integration, and you can build against the Pantheon performance stack. We'll talk about that later. Always free. This doesn't expire. There are some other things out there that have a time bomb on them. They're going to die on them. Not this. And what you get sandbox only. The limitations. So 50 megabytes of file storage. So if this is going to be like a video, if someone wants to rebuild YouTube, well, they can only upload a couple of videos before you got to go ahead and buy the plan. Even though you're not going to launch yet, you need to buy this $25 and get your megabytes up. And the $25 and $100 plans at 250 meg and 2 gig are quite popular. I have clients on both the 25 and the 100. And et cetera, et cetera. So primarily the gigabytes is a concern at that point. The free is free.
No, man.
And then for the 300, or for what was it again?
250 meg.
Yeah.
Which still isn't a lot.
250.
You're aiming towards the YouTube site.
Oh yeah, but hopefully they can afford, they're paying you already, or you got some money down, give Pantheon a little bit of that money down, would you? I don't work for Pantheon, by the way. I'm big fans of the guys. I've been around Drupal long enough, and I'm not a huge shop with all the cool tools, and Pantheon gives me tools that all the cool kids are using and makes me look awesome. Question right there.
So the limitations are resources and developers, not domains?
Correct. So that's a correct. The question is that the limitations are resources, not domains. Yes and no. You can have two projects. So when you create a new account, it says add a site. So you add customer.a.com, and then you add a second site, customerb.com, and you're done on that one. Truth be known, you've got multiple aliases on your email address. You can create a second account and have an A and a B, or a C and a D over there on a separate email address. You can game the system if you want to have 3 development projects going at the exact same time, then people do that. But the limitation is you can't point the production domain to the live site. You can't launch. And also there's the meg storage is limited, but not resources per se.
But on all the paid ones, you can have as many domains as you want, you're pointing to, as long as you don't exceed the memory and disk.
So once you, here's my use case, customer.a.com, and I have the free account, and I'm working on it for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. It's going along. Finally, at about 12 months, we're ready to launch. I'm going to pay $100 a month because I want the 2 gigabytes of storage, because they have it's not a YouTube clone, but they do have a lot of data. So I've launched that site. Now, over on my add a site, I create customerb.com, okay? And I'm working on them for 6 to 8 months. Now, when they get ready to launch, that's really a brochure site. So it's time to point customerb.com to the live domain, the live site. They're only going to pay $25, and the client's going to do that, not me. They don't pay me to pay Pantheon for the site. I can develop on it all day for free forever. And then once they want to go for the full deal, then I have them pay Pantheon.
What if you wanted just 2 small sites launched, like small?
Exactly. So 2 small.
Can I launch them just both for each for $25, or both on the same $25 segment?
$25 per project.
Okay, so every .com that you have the 2 launches, you're going to pay a separate price. You're not
Right.
going to be able to have
Right.
$800 on the 4 sites because you're not using that much bandwidth.
Right. On other places, you can pay $100 a month and have as many sites as you want. They're going to cram it all into a small slice of a VM. You're going to be sharing the same resources. And by the way, over here, they're on the same box. They're having a big sale, and they're going to have a bunch of traffic and drag stuff down. So it's all sharing resources. You're not paying for resources. You're paying for domains.
Well,
So you're not for
except,
real people.
I mean, except those shared sites, they sell their resources. Like I can buy ideas, I can buy additional land.
There's less of an a la carte model here,
Right.
and it's more per project. And you can stare at the grid quite a bit, and you can come up with different angles on that. What you
I'm
got?
just thinking of the use case, if right now I'm leasing a Linode server,
Exactly.
and I got 6 client sites sitting out there,
Mhm.
does it make sense to replace the Linode server with?
Sure. And for you, if you're a good sysadmin, you can make it kind of fast. You have one server, you have one stage for that project, not a dev test and a live. You can't move the code back and forth and the database back and forth and add team members to get in there and fork off into a what's it called? I'll get there in a second. But so all the tools we've got, Linode, you'll pay a lot less and you can put 50 projects on there with 0 of these tools and not near the speed and not near the collaboration. So the value proposition of that will become available later. That's why I don't typically want to price early, but sure enough, that's what we did, so that's
This is
fine.
enterprise, and this really isn't for small meetings.
I think it is. Once you see the tools, okay, because if you want to pay $100 to Linode or $19.99 to DreamHost and put as many sites as you want on there, you're not delivering, there's no development tools for you, and it's not going to be fast, the site speed.
This is very.
What I'll add on to that is, you know,
Very
the
useful.
$25 a month plans, it's not as cheap as those, but you have to look at how much of your time you're putting in managing
Fair enough, yeah.
sysadmin stuff that
Yeah.
Pantheon will do for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it boiled down to for a lot of shops. Once you hit over, 5 or 10 clients, that's a lot of your time you're spending doing sysadmin work. And think of how much time you're going to put forth if the server goes down, especially on shared hosting.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We've all
that's,
looked at the
Which is
prices
why-
of it.
definitely.
Which is why, and for the sake of recording, the gentleman makes the point that if you have a dozen or 3 dozen clients on a Linode or somebody else's VPS, you're spending a lot of time managing all that, and that's the time that you could be doing other things. One of the big principles of the Pantheon value proposition is don't do unbillable things, okay? Making clones of things, copies of things, backups of things, changing things back, reverting back to the way it was, bringing a new team member in. I've been brought in many, many times to, hey Doug, can you give us a hand? We usually like about 3 weeks on this project to give us a hand. Getting me into their workflow is such a pain. I will spend 20 to 30 hours of my first week of 3, these are actual numbers on actual projects, trying to get into the workflow, because it's not just a matter of adding me. They've got to provision things and then VPN me and then IP this, and I want to work from home and I want to work from Starbucks. Well, there's another IP. Good Lord. Seriously, you want to spend time building Drupal that you can build to your clients, not maintaining your servers and your systems. Trust me. So we'll continue with the value proposition on that. Alrighty, are we recording okay? Sweet, thanks. So step 1 is creating your account, and then that gives you the opportunity to create a site. So I already have an account, and I'm going to add a new site to it. This is going to be ATL 2013. So ATL 20, maybe I'm going to build a site for a Drupal camp in Atlanta for 2013. So the name of the site becomes the name .Pantheon for what I'm working on. So I will create that. And I should have done that a minute ago and let that be spinning while I was talking. But I'll be talking right now anyhow, because I'm never at a loss for words. I can lose my voice, but never my words. Dev stage prod. The idea is, here we go. I have some options. I can create from scratch, or I can import manually. Maybe this project already has some legs under it, and you've been kicking it around for a while, and you're moving your project off of Linode or DreamHost or whatever. You can do a manual import. We'll talk more about that later. I can start with a fresh Drupal 7 install. I don't know who's building fresh Drupal 6 projects, but here's your opportunity. Question right there.
If they don't have a distribution that you want to use, would you be better off to install it like on your local computer and then import it here?
If we distribute, because anticipating that there are distributions on this page, which there are.
Well, I'm familiar.
The question is, if that distribution you're looking for is not in this list, are you better off starting it locally and then pushing it up somehow? There's actually a better way of doing that. I just did this the other day. I was talking to a lady. I have knowledge of many distributions, but I've only used maybe a fraction of them. So I was aware of Open Church as a distribution. And it's not in this list, and it's actually quite popular. If you look at the numbers, it is not an old, forgotten, unmaintained distribution. It is up to date as of Drupal 7.23. I didn't know that, so I looked. So I went to Drupal.org and I looked up the distributions. And if you don't know what distribution is, we can talk about that later. Open Atrium, Open Publish, Drupal Commons, Open Church, Open Academy. Is that one? Monopoly. Plato, Typico, Push Tape. Here they are. So you can go grab the URL of the tar.gz file and then come up here and do an import manually. Let's talk about importing manually. It asks you for 3 things. The code base, that's your Drupal. Your files directory, that's all your images and PDFs and whatever you have going on. And then the database, okay? And our case, it's going to be maybe an open church installation. We're starting from scratch, but yet we're also using a distribution that's not in the list. So I can click on that. I can, for the code, I can type in, I just paste in the URL of that tar.gz from Drupal.org. The database, I'll leave it blank. Files, I'll leave it blank. Run the import. Pantheon will grab that tar.gz, unpack it, put it in the code base, create a database around it, and then run you through the installation process. I just did it, I think, Wednesday for somebody. So that's a little tip, little trick for you. In my case, I want to install Drupal 7. And again, I should have done that before I started talking about stuff. But a point of order, Drupal 7, who's familiar with PressFlow? PressFlow, the faster, quicker Drupal 7. There's actually a blog post right now that you can catch on Drupal.org/planet, because you all know Drupal.org/planet is where you go to see everybody's aggregated blog posts, right? Drupal.org/planet. You'll see mine there on the rare occasion that I blog. But there's a post talking about PressFlow, so go check it out. PressFlow, it removes Postgres SQL integration. It's a couple patches against core. It's considered a fork back in the day. It's been around since at least 5, 6, and 7. But it's a good fork. It just makes things faster. Well, Pantheon uses what they call drop 7. It's actually a modified version of even Pantheon. I'm sorry, a modified version of even PressFlow. So the Drupal 7 that's installing is 90-some% the same Drupal that we all use, except for it does have a couple little additions. Nothing that you see in the UI per se, but just some underpinnings that make it even faster specifically on the Pantheon platform. So when you download the code and you look at it on your local machine, you might come across something that you think looks odd. It's not that glaring, but just,
So Doug, how about adding contrib models? I mean,
we'll do that. We'll do it right now. So I hit it says your site is done, and I hit the button. So this is what it was doing. The whole time I was talking, and that bar was slowly filling up, and I was rambling about something. It was building this. It did not build me a site, it built me 3 sites. I have a dev, I have a test, I have a live. This is where we're heading for. I'm talking and clicking and pausing. We could have done this whole thing in under a few minutes. So it's a very quick system to work with. And it gets quicker. They're working, delivering pages to your users quickly is awesome, but they're also making the interface quicker as well, because there's a lot of heavy lifting going on and a lot of things moving around, and they're making it even better for us as developers as well. So here's my project. I have lots of options on the left, lots of options up top. First thing I want to do is visit my development site. So here's a link right here to visit the site that I just built. This is my Pantheon dashboard. Obviously, this is not my Drupal site. So when I go to visit the site, it runs me through the install process. It put the Drupal files there and everything, but it hasn't been installed yet because I have some options to make. By the way, that was a Pantheon button I clicked. You don't see minimal and standard. This is standard with a little bit of Pantheon extras in there. Save and continue, English only, or I could have learned about more languages. It's going through, this is a very similar process you'll see installing Drupal 7 on any system. It'll be done shortly. I have to choose my username, put a password in there, choose my time zone, all the good stuff. Site name, ATL 2013, sysop. Admin sounds good. Password, ****. And do not receive email notifications. I have so many emails that come through with something updates, because I have all these sandboxes. I'm doing a class, then I'll do a class, then I'll do a class, then I'll get 17 emails when something gets updated. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go through all those and turn them off. Congratulations, you installed Drupal. Pantheon defaults are configured. So there's a little bit of extra configuration going on to make sure that Pantheon can deliver the speed and all the goodness that we like. So this is nothing new to us. The boring, bland, unapologetic hello world from Drupal. Not the most impressive. Whitehouse.gov uses this, Emmys, Grammys, NASCAR, Al Jazeera, NASA. This is not very impressive looking, because you gotta build it out, right? Okay. But we know you can get there from here. So this is my site. I can start doing cool stuff. Let's talk about that. Let's go to modules and install new module. So the package installer is still alive and well. I'll go to Drupal.org if I can, and just install views. Now I know CTools is a requirement, so we'll address that later. I'm going to go to the views module. whirling of chaos. I'm going to grab the tar GC. This is stuff that we do every day, right? This is not new. Copy link address, paste it in here, and install
You did say they give you the option of using Drush.
it. Mm-hmm. Drush aliases, ooh, you're not on the encrypted connection. So by default, it thinks I'm not able to use this functionality. What I find, and this isn't always the case, but I'll explain the SFTP and the get modes shortly. But if I pop into one mode, this is not so much a Pantheon workaround thing as it is kind of a Drupal workaround thing. So there are two modes of interacting with your file system: using Git for those of us who like to use Git, and using SFT for those of us who are, some people still use Dreamweaver, but only as an SFTP client because they've been using it for 15 years, and they're very familiar with it, and they like the graphic layout and everything else. Other people use CyberDuck or FireFTP, and FileZilla is a plugin for Firefox. A lot of people use. Whatever you're using now for your file transfers, you can continue to use that, and that's not a problem at all. But
that install module from a URL, is that part of Drupal 7? Or
yeah, Drupal's had a package installer since it came out. Drupal 7, January 7th, 2011.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, we finally caught up with WordPress and Joomla.
Exactly.
I mean, I do everything through Drush. It's been a while since I had to worry about that.
Yeah.
But,
It's not the most highly recommended way of doing things,
yeah.
but it does get the job done. It does. I'm gonna refresh I wonder if who's been having internet connection issues? Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready to pop open my tablet and tether to it if I need to. By the way, this dashboard in Pantheon is powered by Backbone.js on the front end and Node.js in the back end. A lot of stuff going on. If I'm staring at the dashboard and one of you guys are on my team and you commit some code, I'll see a modal pop up and it'll say code coming in or something fun. They've changed that announcement across the time I've been working with this, so I don't remember what it is right now. And we can still continue to hope that the Wi-Fi will be nice to me. Doubtful. Not in this room.
Not in here, no. Do it out. It's slow all day.
But just for kicks, I will go back. So it is actually a net issue, isn't it? When in doubt, try to do a Google page. So, my plan B was to use my tablet, which is broadcasting from my bag. So you just swap out my Wi-Fi networks here. And I'm in. Reload. Pantheon does require a good, solid connection to the internet. We can't help you. Can't help you there. Okay. The dashboard is back. So let's see where we were in the process when this fell through. Nothing like losing your internet connection. Not remember where you were at. Right, you were there. My goal was to, so Git mode. So when you have clients, you have team members who prefer the command line and prefer Git, or you prefer Tortoise Git, or a source tree, or any of the Git tools that are available on various Windows machines typically. They can continue to use that as well. Yeah, for sure. Who wants to be so kind as to give me a cup of water up here? That'd be awesome. Anybody in the middle or in the back? There we go. There's somebody. And we can hope that I can't get a 4G in this city. All I can get is 3G connection, so we can hope that that's going to keep on going. What I'll do is hold off on installing a module for now and move into something else. So we'll let that catch up. I want to point out the dev test and live. It's on. Okay, there we go. They moved from SFTP. You have to be in one mode or the other. If someone says, "Hey, I tried to SFTP up a file and it wouldn't work," then the site was in Git mode, not SFTP mode. And conversely, I tried to do a Git push and it wouldn't take it. It didn't look like my credentials were wrong. It just wouldn't take it. That's because the site's in SFTP mode. Thank you so much. So I popped out of SFTP back into SFTP, hoping that Drupal will be less finicky about that. because Drupal itself will not be able to move files around and it thinks it's in the wrong mode. There we go. So install another module, and we won't. So that's that. There we go. I just installed the views module with SFTP using the Drupal backend, the package installer. Now here's what I want to do. I want to go to Git mode, but I don't want to delete anything. That's the problem. Okay, I got ahead of myself. So I just made a change, and then Drupal put a file in here. I want to make a message, adding views, commit. So now I'm keeping a log of all the things I've done with the site. This is not for content, this is for modules. Maybe I added a Zen theme in here, and maybe with SFTP I pushed up a sub-theme of Zen.
That's a Pantheon.
This is a Pantheon log, not a Drupal log. So look down below, here's my smiling face again, adding views. And then you go to lunch and come back, and then Billy, Bob, Jimbo, and Buck have all committed some code. They've got some features for views going in there. Your themer's going hog wild, and there's like 7 CSS files that have been edited, and they each make their own commits. And it all happens in the dev environment. And when anybody on the team goes to that dev site, they see what's going on. And once we approve this stuff, then we can go over here to test. Now, we haven't been to test yet. So it says the test environment has not been created, and sure enough, we have not created. Clone the development environment now to create the testing environment. So everything that's on dev right now, you do this once. You don't do clones like this all the time. For the purpose of the first time out doing this, we're going to clone the dev environment to the test environment. And this is something the client can look at. Over here on dev, we've got mop buckets and tarps, and there's ladders everywhere, and we're building things. It may go down because somebody left a semicolon out in the dev, they pushed up code that they didn't test first, and there's a missing semicolon, and the dev site is white. But over on test, the client, somebody comes from out of town, and they want to show it off their site to one of the C-level executives, they can show them the test environment where, initially at least, there's not as many mop buckets and ladders and tarps all over the place.
Is there an option to add, say, one other environment?
Yeah, multi-dev. Is there an option to add one other multi-environment? Because 3 is never enough, right?
So like one for QA and then testing for the client.
QA and testing for the client. There are some strategies to accomplish the use case you need, and it may not be the strategy that you may have thought initially. And we'll take a look at that and see how that pans out for us. So here's my test environment. If I look back at dev has Doug added views, and then the initial commit when we created the site. Over here, test has the same thing. It's the same code base being pushed up. Over at live, we'll do it again. So now at this point in time, we have 3 servers with the exact same config. That's not 3-stage development. That's triplicating the work. But obviously, if I had my content types built out in dev, and then I put them on test and put them on live, now the client can put in content. And when they go to put in content, they're going to say, oh, this integer field needs to be floating. It's not common, but we do have decimal values in there. And maybe I overlooked that on the specs, and maybe I got a bad story from the person that was originally interviewing for the discovery process. So I'm going to go in and change that value on dev, push that code to test. Here's what I'll do. So I go into dev, I change the field. Then I push that change, I turn that change into a feature, push that feature as code to test. And then on test, I pull the database down from live. So now I have to, because maybe I'll get to that tomorrow. So 24 hours have passed. That's how long it took me to add that field, to change that field, right? So then I pull the data down from live, which is all their data, and then I say, okay, which node was this? Which page was it you wanted to put a decimal in? Well, it was on this one. So I go to that page, and then there's the value, and I change it to 3.14 because they wanted pi in there. And then we look at it together. Is this what you like? Is this exactly the way you want this? That's exactly the way I want it. So then I push the code up to live. Now they can continue adding their content, and over here in test, where we're testing this, I don't want to push everything to live, because other people are doing other things. They're going to be disrupted by that. So dev is where I have all my paint cans and my ladders out. Test is where collaboratively me and the client kind of scratch our chins and think, is this really what you want? No. Then I go back to dev and I change it and I push it again. I keep on pushing it to test, and I keep on pulling that live data down, because they're going to town.
How do you pull it down?
How do you pull it down? For our purposes right now, the data is the same. So I'll do a demonstration of this, even though it'll be futile.
Doug, you're describing best practice.
I'm describing common practices which happen to also be best. We're not doing these because we can't. You're not doing this because you don't want to maintain, you don't have a sysadmin, a Linux sysadmin on the payroll. And because I get brought in for companies, like I said, where I have to help them out with a project, it's some crazy views, some crazy organic groups thing. And I enjoy doing it. It's like a superhero, come in and save the day. I love it. And sometimes it breaks my brain. I'm like, I gotta really study up on some weird edge case of organic groups to figure out is this even possible? So I'm not always let me help you out, I'll take care of you. It hurts my brain sometimes. But I get in there, and they've got their poor sysadmin, they're whipping him like a red mule, trying to make everything work, and then they're starting new projects, and they're trying to move data from here to there, and this poor guy's putting in 60-hour weeks. Pantheon does it all for me. Let's move that database down for you, okay? So I go down to workflow. Clone Drupal database and files to the live environment. That's not what I want. Our use case is going into the test, right? So where do I need to be? I need to be in my test. These 3 tabs up here know where you're standing before you do something. Fortunately, that big sign said exactly what it said. Now I'm going to go to workflow, and hopefully you're not standing in front of an audience yapping the whole time when you do this. You can focus a little more than I do. Now I'm on test, clone the Drupal database and files to the testing environment. Now why files? Why would I want database and files from the live environment? Because the nodes they're creating are in the database, and the images that they're adding to those nodes are in the files.
What if you're testing something and it's in the database, you have settings in the database and it messes up the testing?
You definitely don't want to have your settings in the database. There are very few settings these days that persist exclusively in the database. So this follows a features architecture, but not the most complicated features architecture. You can keep it very simple. Yeah. So that in all honesty, in full disclosure, that is one level of complexity we need to get used to. Because to her point, if we take the database down from live to test, then that decimal field we added would be overridden by the database that says, I don't have any decimal fields. All my fields are integers.
So if your modules are having features, this is not going to work the way that you're describing.
This specific, how you do features?
You have to use features.
Yes, in that use case you do. Now, there are many people who keep this more simple. If you don't want to use that test area as a common ground, a meeting point of code, and then it's even better for theming, because I'm putting all these themings in, all these theme settings and styles and CSS, then I pull the data down. We realize, the width, the gap between menu items is great on test, but when I bring the database down, all of a sudden there's 2 extra menu items that somebody finally added to the main menu. Now it's wrapping. So we discover, and now the site's launched, by the way, maybe this is after launch. So it's more important than ever after the site launches that once we make some CSS style changes like that, pull the fresh data in and get everybody over there to sign off on this. CMO, CTO, CEO, anybody that can to agree that you really do like tests. I'm going to move that code over, and that extra width is going to make things wrap unless you have whatever else going on.
You lost me when you started talking about features.
So features. So anybody doesn't know what features are. To her point, every configuration change you make, in my example was the integer field discovered that we can't have an integer field. It has to be a decimal field floating. So we can change that field on the Drupal end, but we featureize that change. So there's a feature, use the features module, and you say create feature, and this content type is recipe. Let's just make it up. So you export the recipe content type as a feature. And it literally creates a module. You put that module in you FTP it up, and then there's a commit. So on your dashboard, you would say, adding the recipe content type feature. Then or maybe we're updating it, not adding it. Because the first time you add it, the second time you update it. I would push that to test, and then pull the database down.
It's everything out of the database.
Pardon?
It's everything out of the database and the files are.
Exactly. Gets all your settings out of the database.
I didn't hear what she said.
She said, yes, it gets all the settings out of your database and puts them into code. And unless you're building like weather.gov, like MediaCurrent is right now, which is going to be a very feature-rich, complicated, multiple layers of categories of features. I can only imagine how big this can be. But for those of us who are building admittedly smaller projects, having 6 to 12 features just to get stuff out. Now, if you don't want to deal with features, and I would probably be lazy like this maybe I would just go and add the numerical, add the decimal field on test and live. And then when I'm done, maybe go over and add it on prod too. Because we can be lazy and we can be quick and dirty. We can cut those corners. It took me this long to think of that because I'm really trying to stop doing that. But come to think of it, back in those crazy days of, probably a week ago when I was more lazy, I would do something just like that because I'm not too good for it.
So the point, when you clone the database from live into test, you need to make sure that it only contains content.
So the database always so the question is, do you want to make sure the database only contains content? I wish that were possible. It would be extremely complicated to have a button that says clone Drupal database content only to the testing environment. Oh, good heavens, no. It would be the crown jewel, the golden goose. You'd be a rich man. People have tried to do some custom solutions for that because you're a big shop putting out big sites, and if you can make that better, then you're going to save a lot of time. And even if it costs you 100 hours of your best guy, unbillable to do it, you're going to do it because you're going to use it 1,000 times. And I've heard these stories from the shops who tried to do this, and it's just not worth it. Now, Drupal 8 is going to save us from that because the content management, configuration management initiative is going to do things better than features. It's going to be the default. When you go and change that integer field to a decimal field and you save that page, the code is in there. In fact, your dashboard over here on Dev, because you do it on Dev, it's going to say, remember how I said earlier, you have things ready to commit. Making configuration changes on your site will mean file changes on your site as well, instantly. Okay? Not an abstract. And if I'm not correct on the instantly part, last I understood this, there is no action on our part to create code based on our features. Anybody verify that for me? Is that all right? Anybody else's understanding? Configuration Management Initiative just puts the YAML files, to be geeky with you, puts the YAML file right in there, and it updates it for you. The view, the YAML, I want to sort of sending, I don't want to still be sending, that file just got edited. Come in here and commit it. So that'll be much easier in the future than it will be now. So,
One quick thing I want to double check. I think you said it, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If 2 or 3 of us are working in Dev, and we only want to commit one change to test, you can pick the change you want to commit, or is it whatever the change is when you commit?
So if me, you, and a friend are making, I'm doing CSS changes, you're doing a custom module, and someone else added a contrib module, can we commit just certain things?
Yes, so I just want to move CSS right now.
Yeah, okay, so she just wants to move CSS. If we are using a command line approach and we are somewhat savvy, that's super easy.
Yeah.
But if we're using, forgive me, Windows tools and GUIs, then that kind of complicated cherry picking is not automated at this time.
Yeah.
So you want to be a little careful in that respect. You may have to, if there's CSS changes you don't want to commit, but you want to commit everything else, maybe personally roll something back a little bit, that section, and then move it. Although, let me caveat that. If you make a clone, I'll do this now, hit the Git button. I'm going to pull the file structure down on my local machine, and maybe I have WAMP or DAMP or Aqua Dev Desktop. Maybe I have some functionality here. I'm going to grab this. This is a very long file. I want to make a copy of the code on my local machine. So here's my terminal. Is that big enough for you? No, surprisingly not. I guess good. Okay. My documents folder, if I spell it right, in a sites folder, and I'm going to do a git clone. You can use any other tool that ships with whatever. I'm taking that entire code base, not the database, taking the entire code base and putting it in my local machine. So it's never seen that address before, so it says, are you sure you want to trust that address? Yeah, I just created that address 5 minutes ago. Oh, I have 5 minutes, that's amazing. I was wondering, what am I going to do for 50 minutes with these people? So I pull that code base down, and then when I'm done with that, I can go over to a dev and do a backup. I can create a backup of the database, and then right next to it, it'll create a backup of the code, the files, the database. Remember, the code is Drupal core and contrib and your themes. The files are sets default files, and the database is just a database. So I can create a copy of all three. There's a one button click to pull the database down. I'll pull that database down, so now I have the code and the database in my site. Now I got to import it. Maybe you're going to use PHP, my admin. Maybe you have other tools. You know, you're still doing Drupal, but we're just doing some things for you with Pantheon. I say we, but they do things for us. That code is almost done. So back to your question. I'm making changes in here, and I have my own local host running, and I can look, and nobody else can see it. Unless you're standing over my shoulder, I can't show you what I'm doing. But once I'm happy with that front page theming I'm doing, the recipe pages and the article pages, I'm not happy with that theming. There's a browser compatibility issue I'm still wrestling with, but I'm happy with the front page. Then locally, you only commit the front page CSS changes. And when you commit those, and if I happen to be watching, this modal will pop up. It's magic. I'm like a kid in the candy store. I kid you not. Usually I'm in a room with people all committing at the same time, so I'm like, oh yeah, there we go.
So it's just pushing hit buttons behind the dashboard.
It is. So she can commit her front page, or I can say, hey, how close are you to that front page? She can say, I've almost got it done. I'm like, well, is there anything wrong with it? She's like, no, it's just not done. Would you go ahead and push it? Client wants to see it. I'll tell them it's not done, but we want to see the logo spaced out right and the gutters fixed, because I know you have that much done. We'll work on the other things later on. They want to see it now. So she's going to push it, because I can't push it from where she's got to be on her machine. I push that up, and then put it on the end, and I'll immediately move it to test where they can see it. And if the front page has changed, I'm going to pull the database down from live, because I want to see her styling. And sure enough, the client has changed the content in the front page. What was a short title became a long one, and it's wrapping and pushing crap down, and she's got to redo her work. And I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So this does not tame your clients and make them behave. If I give you an indication of that, I'm very sorry. This will not make your clients behave. So I have all the code here, and I'm working locally. So that was actually a better answer. So that's dev stage and prod. I will mention also that Varnish is just working out of the box here. There's no configuring Varnish. Has anyone ever configured Varnish and edited VCL files? It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not rocket science. Did anybody get hurt? You've done it. Did you bleed? Did you seek medical attention? No, it's not a dangerous thing to do.
You look forward to doing it.
But do you want to do it again the next time? Varnish just works on here. It's beautiful. What is Varnish, for those of you who don't know? In so many cases, a lot of your traffic coming to your site are anonymous. Okay, not every site's a social network. If someone's logged in, they're an admin or an employee changing something or adding something. If all your traffic's anonymous, and you've got a lot of traffic coming, and I mean like 1,000 a second, or maybe just 1,000 a day, but whatever your situation is, why should Drupal wake up and go look in the database for the name of your site, the node ID, the title, the fields, and all this jazz? Why should the database in Drupal wake up and boot just to spit out the same page that the last 2,000 people got? In that case, Varnish will cache that and spit out the HTML. Drupal will not even be touched. Question right there.
Yes, enterprise question. Do you have any customers that integrate with Shibboleth?
Shibboleth, the question about integration with single sign-on and Shibboleth and LDAP and things of the like. Pantheon has a variety of clients. Well, higher ed is huge on Pantheon. UC Berkeley, Arizona State, and others. So single sign-ons is fine, because obviously we have a very managed container of data structure here from Pantheon, but they realize they can't just lock themselves. They're integrating with their web services and anything you want to do. And you need some crazy PHP package for your situation that no one else needs. They're not going to penalize you. They'll work it out and figure it out. It's not too common that it's needed, but when it is, it's going to be very important to you, and they understand that.
So then that's the next question. Custom modules aren't a problem.
No. So in my case, I can go into sites. Whoa. I can go into ATL. What's this thing called again? Okay. Sites all modules. I can create, make directory, custom, change it to custom. Or how about doing it right? Make dir my module my module. Change it to that. And then do a file of my module.info. And I'm just going to leave it kind of blank for now. So there's my module. It's awesome. It's going to be the biggest thing, bigger than views someday. Okay. Here's my Git status. And I wasn't planning on doing a huge Git demonstration here, but it's my local Git config is actually a little messed up, but trust me, it's in there. So I'll do a Git add my module.info, it adds it. Do a git commit, my module.info, -m, my awesome module. I tabbed over, it's gonna happen. Oh, I gotta push it. Git push. Wait for it. All we get right now is a spinny circle on the top. That's all we got. They turned off the logo for now. They changed the UI a little bit on it. So I'm gonna go back. Oh, I'm gonna go back to code. I was in the wrong tab. There it is. There's my board. I thought that was odd. So if I was on the code tab, the vertical tab on the side, it would be showing me that.
Now, if I sign up for this, let's just say I do something the first time through, I can just wipe everything out.
Up here is Teams. You add Teams by email address. So if you add doug@dougvan.com, I'm on your team. And then you can try to pressure me to free support or something. Over here is settings. There's a delete option. Okay. And that's still going. I blame the Wi-Fi personally. So Varnish is good for anonymous traffic. Redis is a better caching system for Drupal, because when Drupal, so people are logging into something. Maybe it's an intranet. I have a client who does a huge Wild Birds Unlimited intranet. Many stores, not thousands, but many hundreds. Their traffic is always logged in. So we're using Redis to cache the cache tables of Drupal. Instead of booting up MySQL for the cache, we're using a key value storage system called Redis. Think of Memcache, Memcached, Membase, similar things. They've chosen Redis at the Pantheon level. So that's the good news there. Over here.
Are you running on Amazon?
Okay, so the question is, where's the data?
The back end, yes.
Yeah, where's the data being stored? Let me refresh this page. The data is being stored. Look at that commit. I typed in that commit from my command line on my local machine. It is now up on the list. Billy, Bob, Jim, Sue, Peggy, everybody's in there. I can just take a look and see at any point what everybody's doing. I can push it up to dev. I'm sorry, to test if I want. Where's the data? The code and the database are on a Rackspace machine on a single VM, but there's proprietary containers that their engineers have developed. It is awesome sauce. It is truly something very unique. It is. I made the joke when I discovered this. I said, this is like somebody from the future who just walked in here, left a white paper on the table, and then slipped away. And then somebody looked at it and said, that makes perfectly good sense. I never would have thought of that. And then they tell me, yeah, his name is David Strauss. So apparently David Strauss is from the future. I mean, it is wicked what they're doing, these containers they're building, and they're spinning them up. And when you get hit with a ton of traffic, they spin up more containers. It's a single VM, so the VM load is semi-consistent. Then they spin up another checkout of your code, and then another MySQL database. There's no master, slave, replication, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're out of sync. Oh, fall over, fail back. None of that jazz. And that's what your sysadmins are doing for 60 hours a week until they can get a better job because they're tired of that crap. I'm out of here. Maybe they can go work for Pantheon. But there's my code. We're supposed to end at 10 till, and also the photo will be done in 6 minutes here. One of my projects has multi-dev on it, and then someone said that they would do horrible things to me if I didn't show off multi-dev real quick. I think Synaptic Blue has a multi-dev instance on it. So here's multi-dev. No, not that one. Which project goes? I'll have nothing to explain to you because it could be this one. The idea of multi-dev is this. Why have everybody using their own machines and checking out code? Because this is Nginx with a PHP version of such and such and everything else. And on your local machine, something may work and look okay, but then when you push the code up, it may look a little different on the dev test on mine. Because I'm running maybe ImageMagick on Apache, and it's using GD Library 2 on Nginx. Really, it should be a minimal situation of that ever happening, but the opportunity does exist to use multi-dev for new cloud development. Can you have more than 3, the gentleman asked? I'm answering that question. Finally, name this. Dude's question. And there's a limit on the dude's cube. There we go. There's a limit. Fork. This is forking everything on the dev. This is a copy of my dev database, my dev code base, my dev files. And it's a whole separate fork. You know what some people are doing with this on Pantheon? They're forking off 3 versions of the dev. So now they have those dev tests live, then 3 forks. They're doing a different thing here, and a different thing here, and a different thing here. And they're spending some time on them. And then they're saying, hey client, let me send you these 3 URLs. Based on what you're talking about, this is what we think you're looking for. Which one do you like? So I never thought of that application for it. But better yet, I can go in here and I can have the exact same environment as all my other Pantheon environments. I can install some alpha code, some beta code, some crazy release candidate code. I can check something out. If I like what I've done, the styling or the files or the code, I can commit that straight to my dev. I can merge it back in, or I can toss it. Or I can clone it. And I can also bring the database from live into here, because I've been working on this thing for a week on this fork. I can bring my database in and say, oh, here we go.
A merge doesn't merge.
It's a code merge.
It's literally a merge.
Code merge. So if I have 2 new modules that nobody else has on my fork, because I'm the one testing them out, and we're so terrified of these modules, we're not letting them near our dev, then I can merge them back in once they're approved. Question over here?
How do you deal with conflicts? How does Pantheon deal with conflicts?
How do you deal with conflicts? It does a best case. It does what it can. But to avoid that conflict, when I'm on my fork, there'll be a notice saying, hey, somebody committed to dev, pull it in. And we got to get our pictures taken. Thank you, my lovely audience.